Hello, everybody. This is Kody Bateman. Welcome to a brand new episode of Promptings with Kody B. That's me. I am your host. I've got an incredible guest for you on the show today. Dear friend of mine. His name is Tommy Mello, A1 Garage Door Services. Over $75 million in annual sales, expanded into 19 states. This guy is a mover and shaker. He's really built an incredible business model and systems for the garage door industry. And as a result of that, he teaches those systems and how to be effective pretty much in any business. He has his own podcast called the Home Service Experts. So you want to check that out, the Home Service Expert. He interviews top entrepreneurs from different professions. Hang on to your hats, folks. This is a good friend of mine. He's spoken at our events in the past. So come on back here in just a few minutes and check out the one and only Tommy Mello. We have a great conversation. See y'all back there. There he is, the one and only Tommy Mello. What's up, brother?
Nice to see you, Kody.
Oh my gosh, it's great to see you. It's been a while. I've been watching you on social media, and you're tearing it up out there. Dang proud of you. I can't even stand it. It's just really cool to see what you've been doing out there.
You know, it's pretty exciting times. I've got Jordan Adler coming into town next week. We're going to put together a plan because we've got a lot of initiatives, and I'd rather talk to one of the best guys to use your software and your systems. We're really working on a plan to make every single one of our 600 employees an ambassador of the program, and to keep those promptings and keep that top of mind awareness. And we're actually building our own structure to make sure that we have at least 100 B&I groups. The reason why we're able to do that and not the owner is because most of them don't have a garage door company. And we're in 19 states, 28 markets. We're going to be in 40 states next year. I've got 65 non-disclosure agreements and 9 LOIs signed, and we closed 2 last week, 2 more next week. So busy times, but I think it's important to remember relationships, and it's the gift that keeps giving, man. So.
Well, what's cool about having you on this show is, just to give our listeners perspective, we're talking to A1 Garage Doors. We're talking to a garage door company that's expanded into a conglomerate in a very short period of time. And you've utilized several of the principles and software and programs that we have here at Promptings. You mentioned, basically, if you're to put it in a nutshell, you're implementing marketing the Promptings way of marketing to people. In fact, talk about it for a minute. So, in fact, before we do that, I want to go back just for a second, and let's talk about your beginning days. We talked about a little bit in your bio, but when you started, man, you were like the rest of us starving entrepreneurs. You started out and you took over a garage. You were in debt. You were in the hole when you started, right?
Well, the way it goes is I started out in Michigan, shoveling snow and mowing lawns like you do when I tried to help my mom out. She worked 3 jobs and always was a hard worker, but slowly got into the garage door business by painting garage doors. I could paint 10 a day, and it was good money. My mom didn't have a lot of money. My dad didn't have a lot of money, but they had a lot of love. So that's what I needed to get through all of this. But in 2007, I started with a buddy, and we made every mistake in the book. I was the CSR answering the calls. I would walk out of movie theaters. I would lose relationships, especially with the ladies, because I just didn't have the time. I'd walk out of a movie theater to go run a job. And it was a lot of mistakes. I owed city taxes. I got into the yellow book when it was shutting down. You name it, I did it. And 2010, we just decided to go our separate directions. And I said, do you want me to take all the debt? And I changed the company name from A1 Garage Door Specialist to A1 Garage Door Service. And so that's what the story is. I didn't buy a company, but we I took on the debt of the partnership and slowly paid it off. But you want to talk about grit, hard work, and mistakes? I'm the king of it.
Yeah. So it's interesting, and we interview so many different types of entrepreneurs on this show, and it's ironic to me. It's almost always the same story. It's like all of us, we all started in the hole. We all made mistakes. We all screwed up. So I think that's real important for listeners to know is that, look, having freedom and independence and running your own business, it's hard work. And there's going to be a lot of grief and a lot of things that go on. But if you simply stay focused on the direction that you're heading in, and I want to talk about it because when I see you, I see tenacity. I mean, I just think of the word, you're tenacious, like, and how people listening to us, how do you create that ongoing tenacity? Because if you don't have tenacity, you're never going to make it through those mistakes. You're just tenacious. You just make it happen no matter what. How do you do that?
I surrounded myself with all my weaknesses. So I find people that complement me well. I don't need a lot of visionaries. I need integrators and implementers. I've hired for my weaknesses. And more importantly, I'm a student for life. I read about 5 books a month, if not more, depending on if I'm on a plane. Because if I'm on a plane, I'm reading a lot of books. And I strategically plan trips mostly for the plane ride. Right. I went and got suits tailored in Minnesota this weekend. I flew to Minnesota to get us suits because there's a great seamstress out there that I know. But ultimately, I think it's a hunger for knowledge and try to be the dumbest guy in the room as much as possible. And if you're always learning, I think it's important to surround yourself with amazing people. And that happens from when I spoke at your event or I go to an event. You guys probably know Joe Polish. I joined that 25K group. I've done things with 100 million mastermind. That's $100,000 a year. And people say, why would you spend that kind of money? Well, there's only 100 members in it. And all these people do 100 million or more a year. And one gal I met, her name's Amanda Tress. She does micro influencer marketing. She's doing $120 million this year. And she built a company kind of like yours where she's got people underneath her. And she found a way to find those moms that need to get healthy and want a healthy lifestyle for their families. And so she's got all these boots on the ground. And so I called her up recently and I said, what would it take for 4 hours of your time? And she and I worked it out, but I don't care if it's 20 grand, because with what I'm going to learn from that, and I'm in a different place in my life, but when you come with humility and you read their books and you come at a place of just, I think you're amazing, and I could just love to bend your ear for a little while. It's taking advantage of those relationships and deepening those relationships. And you talk about that a lot.
It's interesting. You mentioned Amanda Tress. We actually met Amanda down at the Direct Selling University in Dallas about a month ago. And she actually was one of the presenters and kind of shared what she was doing with her business. And I had a chance to speak with her briefly. I want to get her on this show. It's just phenomenal. She's got a really cool coaching program with her direct sales business, and we're getting more and more into coaching here. And so that's how networks work. There's a reason that I need to circle the wagons and go back and talk to Amanda, because you just brought it up on this show and reminded me of it, but that's how it works. When you have networks of people, you talk to each other and you end up bringing up a name that I know of. And that's kind of how networking works. I imagine you at BNI's and the different events that you go to. I would venture to say, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the direction you've taken this business of yours in over the last 5 years was a direct result of networking and getting advice, not from one or two, but multiple people you've met. And you seem to get advice when you most need it and where you least expect it. I know that's my experience. I wonder what yours is like.
Well, listen, if you're a reader, if you do podcasting, if you're out there putting yourself out there, my favorite 3 letters in the world are ASK. You just got to ask. And most people are afraid to ask. And what I can tell you is I see a lot of millionaires out there. Millionaires are great. They get up at 4 a.m. They take cold showers. They're disciplined. They eat chicken every night and rice. It's great. Billionaires, you know, one thing they have is they'll pick up the phone and they'll ask. They'll use their network. Every single time I've met a billionaire, and I'll tell you, you kind of become who you hang around. But forget the monetary value of a billionaire. Just know they get to do what they want, when they want, with whoever they want, and they have fun doing it. And I think that's so important.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned, you spoke at one of our events. That was probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. We had what we called a relationship marketing summit. You know, here at Promptings, one of our core product line is send out cards. And people have been using send out cards for years and years and years. And as a result, you know, we built send out cards to help people act on their promptings, to reach out in kindness to others. But in doing that, we turned into one of the best relationship marketing tools in the world. I didn't start the business to become a relationship marketing tool. I started the business to help people act on promptings, but acting on promptings is the very activity that makes you a good relationship marketer. So all of a sudden, by default, we became relationship marketing experts and put on these shows. You came and spoke at one and did a phenomenal job. And that was, how long ago was that? It was probably 6 years ago, right?
You know, probably 5 years ago.
It was early.
Well,
in
you hired a new CEO.
That.
So and then I know you went a different direction with that.
Yeah.
But it was near the beginning of that relationship.
Yeah. So I just remember, you know, it's been fun to watch you since then. And because I remember when you got on our stage and we were backstage, you know, you were kind of rehearsing and doing your thing and a little bit nervous. Remember that? You were kind of nervous.
Well,
and you're like,
you know, your people, I don't know.
Into?
It was either Dave Smith. Somebody told me, they said, you can't go over a minute. You can't go under a minute. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And you get up there, you start rapping and doing all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, so you're telling me. So I rehearsed it 4 times. It was a big audience and I was very nervous, but that was the first time I remember really flexing that muscle. And if you start to flex that muscle, you start to become really good at it.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I'm at a B&I group, it's interesting now. When I stand up, I mean, even if it's 300-400 people, I'm like, listen, guys, the reason I'm here is I do garage door repair and installation, and I maintain garage doors. If you see a lot of nasty bugs or reptiles getting in your house, that's because your bottom rubber. You know, the garage door is the largest moving object in your home. It's dangerous. 40% of your curb appeal, the smile of your home. You guys know I do garage doors. So that's the first 30 seconds. Second 30 seconds to say this. You know, at A1 Garage Door Service, we have a dream manager. We offer a 401k, straight line to 6 figures for great people who want to work hard and have fun. And if you know anybody that's looking for an amazing career, and you know anybody, literally CSRs, dispatchers, they all make great money. They all enjoy their lives. Send them my way and I'll pay you to do it. And here's how you do it. Just go to Work for A1. We're building an affiliate network because it's easy to get jobs at a B&I. It's easy to pick up work, but really build your team. Recruit an A player will run circles around 3 B players. And I think that's the one thing that people don't think about is building an amazing team when they're networking, is recruiting. And I think it's a powerful tool to use. I wrote a long letter that I haven't really done something with, but even reaching out to the high school coaches, I wrote this letter. And I wanted to ask you too, is part of my training, part of what I'm building with my ambassador program is really, Jordan is going to come talk to me about the VA services. Each one of my coworkers know 500 people, right? They do. And we don't really do anything with that. So I want to be much more clear on what we're going to do on this process. And for me, I have such a hard time remembering kids' names or anniversaries or even birthdays, except for my immediate family. And I just love a database and having a VA just alert me and saying, boom, 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 here's, and have you ever read, what book is it? Blue Fishing.
Yeah. I think you introduced me to that book.
Yeah. Steve Sims.
Yeah.
And he just says, listen, top of mind awareness. If he's at a bar in Italy, he'll get the bartender to give him like 1,000, a couple hundred recipes like of that drink. And all he sends out in the card is says, I wish you were here in Italy. You got to check out this restaurant next time you go here. You're always on my mind. And then he sends that out. It's a napkin. It's a coaster.
Yeah.
And what does that do for people? I think it's just, wow, you thought about me. I've been sending out Cutco knife sets with their names engraved in them, with a nice quote on the back of each one of them. And I got this long letter back the other day, and it's from a buddy of mine. And he said, you know, me and my wife got married, and one day we found this wrinkled, wet piece of paper on the ground. We were walking. We used to go on walks for dates. We didn't have any money. We were both going to school. And it was a $10 gift certificate for a pound of See's chocolate. And they accepted it. We were delighted to get the chocolate. And every year I'd save up for one Cutco knife. And I eventually, because my wife loved it, I got the whole set, but only 2 of them were engraved. And he said, this knife set means a lot more than a set of steak knives. What it means to me is hard work and where we've come from.
Yeah.
And I get goosebumps right now.
Yeah.
He said,
Sure.
you know, thank you so much for our friendship. It almost makes me teary-eyed right now because it's amazing. It's not about gifting. It's just about showing people you care and telling them how much you love them.
It's about creating connection with we as human beings. It's built in our DNA that we need to interconnect with each other. And whenever there's the energy of appreciation and gratitude is one of the most powerful things in the whole universe as far as connecting people together. And so the things you're talking about obviously do that. Now, Jordan, you mentioned Jordan. Jordan's one of the top promptings coaches in the world. That he's been with us for many, many years. And we're getting more and more into this concept called promptings coaching. Coaches that can teach people the promptings way to building relationship, the promptings way to building business, the promptings way to relationship marketing, those kind of things. And you bring up some of those things like the virtual assistant. So imagine, you know, the promptings way is, we're really big on, obviously we send cards to people, but it's more than just sending a card to somebody. It's physically typing in a message of appreciation. One letter, one word, one sentence at a time. You cannot cut and paste your way to genuine human connection. And that's what a lot of marketers don't get, is that they want a system that just does it for them, when people are craving the fact that you took enough effort to really try to make a connection with them. And that's why we're real big on the heartfelt cards. Now, having that been said, you want Jordan to come in and talk to you about virtual assistant. The virtual assistant can help you leverage that contact manager that we have, so that while you're sending those heartfelt messages every day, the system actually is sending out automated things on your behalf. It just widens the network of people that you reach. Let me give you an example. So it's kind of funny. I use my own virtual assistant service personally. I use it. You know, I don't sell anything I don't use myself. So I use it myself. One of the things they do for me that I'm not good at, I'm not good at social media stuff. It's not like I'm going to make comments on everybody's social media. I just don't do that. But my virtual assistant does. So all of a sudden, you know, I send birthday cards out to my certain network of people, but I can't reach the tens to 20 to 50 to hundreds of thousands of people that are in my network. But I have a virtual assistant that anybody that follows me on Instagram, as an example, they get a birthday inbox message from me. My virtual assistant does it. I wrote the message for it. Tommy, it blows my mind. I spend 10 minutes every morning in my messenger box from people who have responded to me saying happy birthday to them. And it blows my mind how much it means to people. It blows my mind. It's just amazing. And my virtual assistant is doing that work for me while I'm sending heartfelt messages to people that are close to me in my life. So, yeah, I mean, that's
Here's what I would say. For me, I'm working on 10 times my efficiency, literally not once or twice. And in a perfect world, the VA would first start with taking all my contacts, getting all the names, the kids' names, the birthdays, the dog's name. The dog should get a birthday card. And
by the way, they're great at doing that. They did that for Jody and I. We ended up with, heck, I think I've got like 40,000 names in my contact manager, and it's accumulated over the years. Our virtual assistant went in and organized that in such a way that's just phenomenal. So that's what they'll do for you. Yeah.
And then, for me, I'm not going to sit down and write even to my mom. What I'll do is make a video, and they could just transcribe the video. I could bust out 100 videos in 10 minutes and say, hey, and talk about something unique. Hey, listen, man, remember when we went to Cedar Point 5 years ago? You were afraid to go on that roller coaster. Well, guess what? We're getting older now, so you're going to be more afraid. But whatever it might be, a real moment. And I don't think I'd want to just sit there and start typing out a heartfelt message. I'd rather just send a VA a bunch of videos and maybe even put a QR code of me. There's an opportunity to do that too. It's pretty easy. It's just a Loom video. But that's the way I'm trying to get a lot more, 600 employees. I'll be triple next year. And I'm really working on efficiency. And it's not that I'm lazy. It's just, you only have so much time in a day.
Yeah. Yep. For sure. Well, it's fun to watch you. And like I say, a lot of it's cool because you've got that mindset of, how can we leverage technology so I can get this messaging out? And we're looking for those kind of things all the time too. I mean, we have people putting QR codes right in the card with their video on it. I mean, we already are doing those kinds of things, and a virtual assistant definitely can help you with that kind of deal. So let's talk a little bit about, because you mentioned B&I, not only do you talk about the garage doors, you also talk about, come work for us, and you use that as a recruiting source. That's because it's very impressive, your expansion. And I want you to tell us a little bit about how since you and I were face-to-face talking, which was several years ago, you've expanded your business a lot since then. So talk to us a little bit how you walked through the expansion. You went from one facility to multiple, and just walk us through that.
Yeah. What I figured out is it's the people. And I figured out that if you want to improve your business, what's in it for me? What's in it for them is basically the message is, how do I create a spot that people actually enjoy to come to on Mondays? So I work really hard to create this environment, but ultimately I'm always recruiting, and I'm teaching that to everybody. And then number two is we've created a training center that you train for 4 weeks in your own market, then 4 weeks here. And we've got an event. We do a hiring event. We hired 29 people at our last event. I had 45 technicians graduate last month. 45. And for every 45, I need another 8 CSRs, 4 dispatchers, that comes with all the infrastructure. But ultimately, there's a lot of things that need to go right. You need to get the vehicles. You need to get the tools for the techs. We give them $4,000 of the tools. We give them the love. We help them create a personal budget with their wife and family, because I think it's so important that my dream has to be big enough for all their dreams to come true. Mm-hmm. So if you want to take your dad golfing for 2 weeks, if you want to take your wife on a 10-year anniversary, if you want to buy a home, get out of credit debt, quit smoking, we're going to work with you on all those things. It's not a hard conversation when I say, Kody, look, give me a hug. What's going on, man? Listen, you're not hitting your dreams. You told me to hold you accountable to your dreams, your goals. Right. And, you're slipping a little bit. And I just want to know, is everything okay? Because when we sat down, you were excited. Your wife was excited. And realistically, I do know that those hard conversations become easy when we're able to have those conversations to say, I'm holding you accountable. This is how many jobs you need to run a day. This is your conversion rate. So we break down their dreams into KPIs to hold them accountable. And these difficult conversations become really easy. And they walk away going, thank you for reminding me why I do this. What's in it for me? And I think that that's so important.
So you've mastered the system. You've got the system down, exactly what it takes, the ROIs and all that kind of stuff. And you help people plug into that system, right?
Well, it's pretty simple. I could walk into any company. I don't care what it is, a doctor's office. I don't care if it's whatever it is. There's 4 KPIs that matter: your average ticket, your booking rate, your conversion rate, and your cost per acquisition. And everything stems out of those. And the problem I find is everybody says this, Kody. They say, I want to make more money next year and I want to spend more time with family. I go, okay, how? Well, I'm just going to try harder. And I go, well, what needs to happen? Not this month, not this week, but what needs to happen today? How many phone calls do you need? Can we increase your conversion rate? Do you even know an accurate booking rate? Do you have a real model of success? Because without a very detailed budget and plan, I just see so many people fail, and then they struggle on creating a budget. But if they knew their numbers and if they put performance pay, they would be so much more successful. And I think it's very, very simple. I use a BI tool called Grow. There's a lot of BI tools out there, but I'm able to look at insights and trends and analyze things that people would dream of, because I've got the team to build that for me, that I can look at a glance. Yesterday, we had a record day. Everybody else is telling me how slow they are. It's a crappy month for them. Last week, we had a record week. And I'm only getting started. I feel like I'm in the first 3 minutes of the first inning. But I feel like that every day, because I come into a place that I enjoy being at. I don't hate to come to work. I enjoy being here. I show up. And I'm never here to flaunt. I don't drive a Ferrari. I drive a Nissan Titan truck. It's a nice truck. I love it. And the one thing I always want to do is, I was the last one to buy. I made sure every single technician had a new vehicle before I bought a new vehicle. And it had 5,000 miles when I bought it. But I think it's so important to leaders eat last and to show by example and take care of people, because when you take care of them and you love them, 3 new homeowners last week, a new child brought into this world the week before. We celebrate the wins. And I think send out cards is a great way to do it. And just, sending gifts and little things like that. And I want to talk real quick about the Dream 100 list, because, in the book, Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes, original book, came out years ago. I call it the Red Bible. He talks about, if you just had 100 clients, I've got a client that spends $2.5 million a year. If I had 100 of those clients that spend $2.5 million, I would have a $250 million business. So it's identifying your Dream 100 of the gift that keeps giving and creating very strong relationships with those people. And you stay top of mind, sending out cards, sending brownies, sending fun gifts, sending them a book, sending them tickets to a baseball game. My general rule is you can spend 10% to acquire a customer. So if it's a $2.5 million customer, you're not going to do this, but you could theoretically spend $250,000 on that client to get them. And then you got to guard those clients. You need to keep that going. Once you get them, you can't say, I'm going to go after the next one, because now I'll get another $2.5 million. You got to say, how do I retain this client? So many people, they move on to the next one, and why the other ones are walking out the back door. That's the biggest problem with an entrepreneur, is we're always going for more, not holding on to the relationships we currently have.
It's good stuff. For all of us listening in, we're speaking to Tommy Mello, owner of A1 Garage Service. He has over 450 employees in 19 states, over $75 million in annual revenue. Also, you have a podcast show called The Home Service Expert, and you interview a lot of people from your profession and different professions. Talk to us a little bit about what you do on your podcast.
So what's super cool about my podcast is about 50,000 downloads a month. And we've got a goal on that, just like we have KPIs and goals. And we've got a really detailed list of what we're working on. Is I had Michael Gerber come into my office and do a podcast with me. He's a legend, the E-Myth Revisited, work on the business, not in the business. And what's super cool is, no matter what I'm going through, if it's understanding how to give equity to employees through an equity incentive program, phantom shares, if it's understanding tax preparation and tax strategy, if it's just understanding a little bit more about an applicant tracking system or how to get vehicles, I strategically get on my podcast what I need, because right now it's getting enough downloads where everybody would love to just enjoy in the listenership. Right. And so I'll send out people that I need, and then I'm the guy asking the questions for my business selfishly, and then other people listen to it and they go, oh my God, you asked the same questions I love. Like, it's perfect, because you asked everything that and I'm like, it's because I'm going through the same fight every day.
Yeah, that's great stuff. Well, we always like to recommend to our listeners, because again, a big thing that we talk about is continually feed yourself with positivity every day. So when we come across podcasts or books or things of that nature that we feel is going to be beneficial to our listeners, obviously we're going to share that with them. So how do people get to your podcast? Love to have people listen to you.
Well, there's the Home Service Expert podcast. It's, you just type in Home Service Expert. There's 300 episodes, but I'm writing a new book. It's taken a long time. I flew to Nashville for 2 days to really get focused, and like a racehorse wears blinders. I had to just focus on that for 2 days, get out of my office, and it's called Elevate. And I got the first chapter that's free. The book is book.elevateandwin.com. So book.elevateandwin.com. And the cool thing about this book is it's Elevate, build a company in which everybody wins. The employees win, I win, the customer wins, our vendors win, and our partnerships win. So many times in life, we feel like I'm a negotiator. I need to win this argument. But if we could help the coworkers and their dreams come true, if we could help give a better experience to our clients, if we could help the vendors, I ask them, what are your 3-year goals? Do you want me to be in a certain product mix? What could I help you sell? Where are you trying to open that I could help start a market there and keep you guys busy? Or do you got any slow markets that I could go into and support you guys? Start with the outcome and key results they're looking for and go their strategy. They're much more likely to want to work with me and help me when I need their help. So I come in for this form of gratitude, looking at their outcome and key results. And when you do that, and you do that with employees, you do that with clients, you win. And you could have a win across the board. And that's what this whole book is about. And I took a long time to write it. I put my heart and soul into it. It means a lot to me. The other book I'm going to start in February is called The Power of ADHD, because if you could control it, and if you could just learn to help people help you focus, it's actually, it's so many mothers out there say, my poor kid will never be anything. He's got ADHD. And they see him all over the place or her all over the place, but it's actually it's a blessing, not a curse.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, listen, Tommy, your energy is contagious. I always love being around you and hanging out with you, because you just have that higher level of energy. I'm sure all of our listeners felt that here on the show today. Appreciate so much all that you're doing. Like I say, we're big fans, man. We are big fans of what you're doing. I love watching you progress, learn a lot from you, and it's just been an honor to have you on the show. Now, we always like to close the podcast by giving you the floor. You know, I've been asking you questions and whatever, and we just give you the floor, and anything that you feel that's on your mind or feel inspired or prompted to share with our audience, the floor is yours.
The best piece of advice I've ever received and actually implemented was, I spent the last 8 years flying around the country, reading HVAC books and talking to the number one HVAC companies in the world. Like I said to you earlier, a lot of my buddies have private jets. It's not uncommon to see a $200 million HVAC shop. They do plumbing and electrical as well for the off season. And when I go to them, I don't say, hey, let me come learn from you. I say, listen, I'm a big fan of yours. I've read everything. I follow you. You're like a living idol to me. I would love to just spend a half day, maybe bend your ear for a half hour, meet some of your staff. I'm not going to compete with you. And I just think you're amazing. And then I go there, get out of my comfort zone. I ask a lot of questions, but the difference is I implement those things right away. I put things in my Google Calendar and I go right to work. I delegate a lot and I put deadlines on things. And that's why I'm able to do so much, because I'm always learning. And when you can get out of your comfort zone, when you walk into a successful HVAC company, it's almost like a different type of air. It's like they pump oxygen in there. It's like it's all lit up. The walls are light. They're not dark. It smells good. And you just see this workforce working towards the same goal. They're all running in the same direction. And I think if I was to go back in time to 2007 when I first started, I would say, go out there and learn more. Go out there and ask more questions. Don't be afraid to ask, and ask in a way that's humble. And when you get to see success, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You could ask a lot of questions. You can get in contact with their CFO, their CMO, their COO, and you can start learning from their staff and seeing how they train and how they recruit and how they retain. And I just think it's the biggest advantage in the world, because once you see it, you kind of could start to develop a better vision instead of recreating it.
Well, I'll tell you what, great advice from the one and only Tommy Mello. Appreciate you being on the show with us today. Didn't you do like cookies or something? You had like cookies in your lobby or something a while back, or
we got
the aroma. You had some kind of aroma thing where, like you do everything you possibly can to make customer feel welcome and whatnot.
So the story that I tell is there's this cleaning lady I know, and she goes to Costco and buys a big thing of cookies, the dough, and she cuts them off into little sections and brings them in a cooler. And she bakes 3 cookies at every house and writes a nice letter. And when the people get home, the whole house smells like cookies. Yeah. There's a nice handwritten letter there, and she's booked out because it's different. Apples to apples, she sells oranges. She makes people feel good. Yeah. And they're never going to, 5 years from now, they're not going to remember what they paid for her cleaning service. They're going to remember the way she makes them feel. And I think that's so important.
Okay, so when I come down and visit you at one of your places, I want those fresh cookies.
You know what? I haven't done that yet, but I'll see if I can get an oven in every location.
Tommy, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for being with us. And we've got information on your podcast and stuff that's been up on the screen throughout the show today. So we've got great calls to action for our people to go and see what you're up to. Thanks for educating the world on positivity. We appreciate you so much.
Thanks, Kody. Appreciate being here.
All right. Take care, everybody. Come on back and see us again. We're going to keep putting the spread on the bread here at Promptings with Kody B. That's me. I'm the host of this show. We're out to teach people the power of promptings, how to reach out in kindness to others, create appreciation energy in your life, and be the person that you were meant to be, just like this guy, Tommy Mello. So thanks, everybody. Take care now.